Elam shehakol nibidbarei.
I mean,
I,
Chaim.
I
Hmm.
mean,
I,
See, it's not connected here properly. The audio. Can you say that again? Anybody
I,
speak?
I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah. All right. Now we have you overhead, all encompassing. Good tavach, Shavua Tov. Good week, everybody. New week, new divine light from the week's Parsha that we not only get inspired by, but hopefully we live with. So, anybody came on foot here? Anybody drive? What was the purpose of your driving?
Come here and be stimulated.
Oh, you're putting a big onus on me now. What was the purpose of your driving here?
Versus driving versus walking,
No,
since you asked between the two.
no, not between the two.
No.
Just
We spent some time talking in the car. So we chatted,
Mhm.
which was nice.
So the purpose was your chat. Okay.
Of course, you too. Walked, but it was sort of
No, I didn't mean versus the walk.
so it was chat. So just
Okay. All right, very good. And those that drove alone? There was no one to chat to, so you came here to chat.
unless one talks to him.
Unless you talk to yourself. That's right. Okay. So this week's Parsha of Pinchas, we kind of take a bit of a switch. We've been discussing, or the narrative has been, many of the trials and tribulations, the downfalls of the Jewish people, or the last week through the the idolatry, the promiscuity with the Moabites and Midianite women. At the end of the parsha, the week before, we had the passing of Miriam and Aaron. We had also Moshe getting punished, that he's not going to go into the land of Israel. And we've been going through a lot. And this week's parsha is a kind of bit of a switch. The focus is now going into Eretz Yisrael, going to the land of Israel. I mean, the truth is, the whole time it's been a 40-year journey to go into the land. But now in the narrative, we speak about a new leader that's being appointed. Yoshua is being appointed as a new leader. We speak about the boundaries of the land of Israel, the offerings, the sacrifices that are to be offered in the land once come in there, for the holidays and so on. So we get a bit of a switch. In the story of dividing the land of Israel into the 12 tribes, this is the narrative that we're going to go into. Quite fascinating. Actually, it's pretty simple, the way the Torah tells it. Thank you. Two black boxes. Assuming they were black, but maybe not. And the one was the name of the 12 tribes, and the other one was the territory that was being allotted. Right? You took out the name of a tribe and its territory. That's your match. What's that called? A lottery, right? It's a lottery. This is what happened. Let's take a look in this week's Parsha. Let's share over here. Not finished yet? I say we're not finished yet.
Well, you laid out the geographical area.
Hello?
I'll tell you later.
I might have been comedy, but there's no error. You're here.
Left my voting challenge because she's calling me. I don't know. Never. We're here.
You're here. Okay, so text 1a. See in front of you. Al pi hagorel, in accordance to the gorel, which is the lottery. Techalek, you should divide nachalosa, its land, bein rav lema'at, whether numerous or few. It doesn't matter if you have a large population, you have a smaller population, you're going to inherit the land al pi gorel. Right? Anybody know Hebrew here? Tzat. Okay, who can translate for me al pi gorel? Literally. With the mouth of the lottery. Gorel means lottery. Where do we know the word gorel from? That's in Persian. In the Megillah Esther, it says pur, hua goral. Pur, purim, plural, right, is the gorel. So gorel is the Hebrew word for lottery, right? And it says al pi. So translate that again. The mouth of the lottery, right? So it is a term that's used, meaning simple. How would we understand it? According to, right? The lottery, right, will be the inheritance. We go to Rashi. Rashi is the Pashtan, the simple meaning of the text, and he says, Al pi gorel, by pronouncement of the lottery, the lot spoke. What does that mean, the lottery? The lot spoke? Whoa. What does that mean? A miracle happened. He took out from this box, Yehuda, he took out from this box no, what's the name of the area? Yehuda, right? And Yehuda and Shamron, right? Took out that area around the Beis Hamikdash outside of Jerusalem and the whole area. The lot spoke. Yehuda gets the Judean mountains and whatever area. So the obvious question, what's going on here? Why is that necessary that the lottery should speak? I mean, we Jews are used to this since last week. We had a donkey that spoke. So if a donkey could speak, right? And be careful because we don't want to call names to anybody here, okay?
But was any description of the boundaries of the land?
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming.
I am, but that's not let's focus on what we're learning. Okay, what the description, the lottery said. It gave the boundaries, right? So, what was the point of this miracle? We need to understand. And actually, not only what was the point of the miracle, why is it necessary? Because if we look further into this week's Parsha, we know that there's another element that happened in the choosing of the 12 tribes and their territory that they would be allotted. And if we go to the next text, is that large enough that you can read? How do I make it larger? Okay, welcome, folks. There's my friend. Can you get the front door, please? Okay. You know what? What do you see? Do you see it now?
You see?
Rather, your screen is paused. Yeah, recheck. Yes.
Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's look from this. The Talmud tells us the following: the land was divided by lottery, as the verse states, only by lottery. The land was divided by prophetic spirit communicated through the Urim Vitumim, engraved the letters on the high priest's breastplate. High priest, Elazar at this time, he was the high priest, the son of Aaron. Breastplate, he was there when the lottery was taken, right? And it too pronounced, as the verse states, by pronouncement of the lottery. How can both be true? So Elazar the high priest donned his breastplates, through which God communicated. Joshua, Yeshua, and all the Jews stood before him. The lottery spectacle with the names of the tribes stood before him, and the lottery receptacle, rather, with the names of the land portions stood before him. He ascertained by divine spirit and proclaimed, the tribe of Zvulun will arise from the lottery, and the portion of Akko will arise with him. He drew from the receptacle, right, from the black box, the tribes. And who did he take out? Zvulun, right? And then he drew from the other receptacle, from the other black box, and land portion, and the portion of Akko emerged from his hand. He ascertained once more the divine spirit and proclaimed, the tribe of Naphtali will arise from the lottery, the portion of Ginasar will arise with him. He drew from the receptacle of the tribes, and Naphtali emerged in his hand. He drew from the receptacle land portions, the portion of Ginasar emerged in his hand. So what happened over here? Elazar the high priest, he gets the divine spirit coming to him. And before it's even drawn from the boxes, right? He's already telling you what's going to happen. And guess what? That's what happened. Period. Right? That itself is miraculous, obviously, but it's it's prophetic vision. We had last week an evil person who had prophetic vision, who was able to see things, Bilam, that wanted to curse the Jew and transform to blessings, as we know. And this week we have Elazar the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, who is giving prophetic vision based on the Urim Vitumim, exactly what's going to happen, and so it happened. So if there was a question of whether this was right, whether this was wrong, whether this is according to the will of God or not according to the will of God, there's no question. Done. Is that clear? Which, of course, makes then the question even more unreal. Why does the lottery have to speak and say it? We see that it's prophetic, that it's from above, right? Elazar, the Kohen Gadol, he quite clearly showed that. There was no need for the Gorel to do that, to speak. Especially as we know that there's a general principle. See, I can show you the whole thing here. General principle, God desires to preserve the natural order as much as possible. The order of nature is precious to him. He overrules it only in cases of critical necessity. Sharon? Thank you. Before the class, fine. During the class, we're going to just focus, okay? Thank you for your kindness. So again, is the question clear? What is the point of the lottery itself speaking and saying that which was already prophetically given to the Kohen Gadol, to Elazar the high priest, that he already prefaced before the lottery was actually done, so there will be no mistake to think that this is not Al Pi Hashem, according to God. Most definitely is. We don't need another reassurance that this is in accordance to the will of God, that the lottery has to itself speak. Right? We're good? We're clear? Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. No, the question, there's only one thing that's important now. Don't try to figure out the answer. Right. No. No. But by the way, before you can have an answer to something, the question needs to be like emphatic. If it's not emphatic, if you're not exactly clear, so then whatever answer the answer won't be clear in the end either. So just to make sure that you're bothered by the question. Okay. Okay, that's all that counts. The rest, the Rebbe will take care of. Okay, we're going to digress for a moment. We're going to come back to this question. Okay, but beforehand. In 1970, was one of the first times, that from Eretz Yisrael, Chassidim came to the Rebbe en masse, chartering a plane in different instances. And they came for the Rebbe's birthday, which is 4 days before Pesach, Yud Aleph Nisan. Rebbe made a farbringen. After making a farbringen, which is usual farbringen, he made for these people that came from Eretz Yisrael, especially for the Rebbe's birthday. He made a farbringen for them, a yechidus farbringen. And by his talk, he sees that the people are getting a little antsy, right? They get a little antsy. Sometimes, like people in my class, they get a little antsy.
What's the word?
Huh? Oh, I didn't say anybody. I didn't. No names. No names.
What's the word you used?
Antsy.
Antsy?
You know, ants in the pants. You ever heard it? Spilkes. Okay, yeah, Spilkes. Okay, auf Yiddish gesagt. Thank you. Spilkes, right? Why? Because their flight was going soon. Their flight was going soon, and the Rebbe is still talking. Now, it's not nice to walk out even on your rabbi, but on the Rebbe, no. But you can walk out if you need to walk out. It's okay. But on the Rebbe, no one's walking out, but they're still on Spilkes. They're looking at the clock, right? The Rebbe recognizes it, and he says that he tells a story that in the 1920s, the Frierdiker Rebbe was in Leningrad, and he had to go to Moscow. Are very important meetings there. And this is already the communists, they're in control, and we just came from Yud Beis Tammuz. Those, every single one of you missed in a farbringen yesterday. Oh, amazing farbringen we had. That lasted till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was just, yeah. And then some. No, it's just a beautiful farbringen. What in honor of Yud Beis Tammuz, the day that the previous Rebbe got released from prison. And so here, this is before he was the imprisonment. He has to go to this important meeting. The Rebbe goes into his room 15 minutes before he's about to go to the train. And he sees him that he's engrossed in writing a Hasidic discourse. And he says to the Rebbe, our Rebbe says to his father-in-law, how are you so focused? Going on a train ride in Russia, first of all, itself is, something. The Frierdiker Rebbe, there are the eyes of the KGB on him on this ride, and at all times, and even more so now. And the important meetings that he's going to, you think his mind would be there. So he said no. He said no, and he told over from the Rashba. The Rashba, famous Rabbi Shlomo ben Aderet from Spain in the 13th to 14th century. He gave 3 lectures a day, deep Talmudic teachings 3 times a day in the yeshiva. He was the rabbi of the community. he was a doctor too, and he had people from around the world that send him letters with questions, shilas in halacha, in Jewish law. I mean, he was an individual. Yet every day he would spend 10, 15 minutes and take a walk. He would take a walk for the 10, 15 minutes. And the previous Rebbe explained. The natural, and that he was able to focus. The natural explanation is that Rabbi Shlomo lectured and the rest of the calendar ceased to exist as far as he was concerned. Similarly, for the duration of his stroll, it was as if nothing, not even his lectures, existed for him. Right now, I'm on a walk. Nothing else exists. Not the patients that might be waiting for him, not the students who he's got to go teach, not the community that he needs to lead. Right now, this is all that exists. How is it able to do that?
Didn't carry yourself.
Huh?
Never carry yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He didn't carry his cell phone. He was focused on one thing and one thing only and did that in its entirety, right? So the previous Rebbe says that's how he was able to dismiss the pressures of the train ride, because 15 minutes later for him did not exist now. Did not exist, right? There was no reality to it. Therefore, he's fully focused, right? Yeah. Now, you might think that this is a creative tactic, and this is good for therapists and those who are time management, consultants and so on. No, this is the Tanya that we just finished learning in the second book of Tanya. The God creates the world every single moment, right? And this is what the Rebbe said by the Fabringen. He said all of this, what I just told you, to these people who are looking at the clock. Some people look at the food. Some people look at the clock. When's the rabbi going to finish? Oh, yeah. I'm not excluding everybody here. Yeah, present company excluded. So the Rebbe tells all of this to these people who are waiting for the plane. So the Rebbe says that God creates the world every single moment. And in this moment, all that there is where you are. The plane, for all intents and purposes, in this moment, doesn't exist in your reality. It just isn't there, right? When you'll come there and you need to board the plane, that's when the plane exists for all intents and purposes, right? And therefore, if that's the reality, which is true, because God is recreating this moment, every single moment. So in this moment, your reality that he's creating is the only thing that exists for you. Anything else of what your world is in that moment, right, that you need to engage in that moment, for all intents and purposes, it really doesn't exist, right? Because God's recreating the next moment and the next moment. It'll create in that moment. But for your needs or your engagement, it doesn't exist. Now, this is a hard thing to achieve, obviously. This is a hard thing to achieve. And the Rebbe shortened his Fabringen then. But he gave them a message. Right. The message is the message. In other words, you're not achieving this just because we say this, right? This is work on ourselves, Judy, you were saying, right? It's a
Do not carry yourself.
right. Well, the cell phone is just, is the ultimate what's the word, interruption, right, for this moment, right? The ultimate. Yeah, no question about it, right? So this applies in places. It also applies in moments. Yesterday's old news. Tomorrow hasn't yet happened, right? We only have today. So if we are wise, then we will deal with today in its totality, right? For tomorrow doesn't exist. Now, that doesn't mean that if there's something that you have a responsibility they have to do for tomorrow, that it's not something you might have to do right now for tomorrow, right? But that's only the way. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to that in a moment, right? With this, it's interesting halacha that was asked of the Radatz, a 16th century sage, also from Spain, but he immigrated to Tzfas in Israel. And there was a Jew who was incarcerated, as many Jews were incarcerated back in the day by non-Jews, especially if they couldn't make the full payment that they needed to make because they were the landowners, the pirates, and they would imprison them. So the question was asked that they would get a furlough. They get a day off, right? Which day should you take for your day off? Should it be Yom Kippur? Should it be Pesach? You get. So he responded, the first day that you have any mitzvah that you can do, that you can't do in prison, that the only place you can do it is outside of prison, take that day. In other words, don't wait, right? It needs to be immediate, that you take, the opportunity. It's not something that you wait for. The opportunity is now. The world exists for you now with this mitzvah, whether it's a minor mitzvah versus a major mitzvah, Pesach, Yom Kippur, those are biblical, maybe, and this one isn't. Take whatever first comes, right? Not to wait. That's how he responded. So, in other words, human nature is we prioritize the future and use the present in order to gain something for the future, right? So for example, you have a flight to go on, right? So what do you need to do? Well, you need to pack. So a packing is only a means to an end because you're going on a flight. Not so, accordingly. Packing is for packing's sake. Yes, it's because it's for the sake of going on the flight, but when you're packing, you're totally focused on your packing, not on your flight. There's actually a very good benefit when you do that. What's that?
Stay calm.
Not only you stay calm, right? That for sure, but you're going to prepare properly for your flight. If you're nervous about your flight, you're going to forget something to pack. But if you're focused on packing, you're totally engaged in packing, not only because it's a means to an end, but it's an end in itself. God's creating this moment. So I'm totally focused in this moment. My thoughts are there. If I need to speak about something in that moment that are expressing my thoughts, my words are there, my actions are totally there. I'm totally engaged, right? Because it is not just a means to an end, it's an end in itself. Packing properly, right, is an end in itself. I got to give this class to my wife. Many women, they get very anxious when they travel, right? Very anxious. Some men me too, but women in particular, at least my wife.
But that's an extremely hard endeavor.
Okay, therefore, let's talk about what's hard. No one said it's easy, but first we need to know the truth. If we live that packing is only in order so you can get onto the flight, right? Then first of all, it becomes only a necessary evil and it becomes only a means to an end, but it's wrong. It's its own duty. It's its own service. It's its own reality. And therefore, it's in the moment has nothing to do about the flight. The flight doesn't exist in that moment.
If you're packing late.
No, even if you're packing late. No, even if you're packing late, it's irrelevant.
Here's the focus.
No, the focus. No, David, in the moment of packing, there's only one reality, not your flight. Packing. That's all there is. There's only packing. Hence, when you're coming to the class and you're driving here, you're not coming here merely to come to the class. There's obvious truth to that. That's the human condition. The human condition is cause and effect. If you didn't walk here, you didn't get here. If you didn't drive here, you didn't get here. So there is a cause and effect in everything that we do. But to have a divine element in the engagement, the divine element is not cause and effect. God's not limited by cause and effect. He doesn't create by cause and effect. He creates something from nothing, right? That's not cause and effect. He creates every moment. So this moment is its own reality. This moment is its own end. So when you're driving here and therefore you have a conversation that has a value and has a meaning, it's an end in of itself. Period. It's not like I gained something. No, that is something. That is the something. It's not about merely getting here. It's about the thing itself is a value in and of itself, period. Is that clear? And likewise, the journeys of the Jewish people. Why does the Torah tell us about all the journeys when it's all about going to Israel? Because it's not. Every journey has its episode. Every journey has its engagement. Every journey is not a means to an end, is an end in itself, a value, inherent value for itself, period. Which means full engagement, right? What's full engagement mean? What does being fully engaged mean? Okay, but what does it mean? What does it demand of you? Okay. Mindfulness, what else? It means your thoughts are mindfulness, your thoughts are focused, your words are focused on this, your actions are focused on this, right? Not multitasking, right? That my mind is, because I'm anxious of where I gotta go. And my words are, I gotta say something to this one, right? For whatever it is, they're at my side and they need my attention for the moment. So I'm saying the words, and my actions are, I'm on the phone, right? That's not being there, not being present, not recognizing that this moment is a moment that is coming to you, living color by God Almighty, that He's animating this moment as not merely a means to something else that might, again, it doesn't mean it's not a means to something, but it is something in and of itself as an end in itself, a Kodak moment. Because that's how God views it. God's using this moment, right? Exactly that way. He's animating this moment as He's animating the next moment in totality, as an end in itself. With this, we can understand the concept of time. We know the measurement of time, but no one knows how to define time. No one, except Hasidus. Time is the infusion of a divine light, a divine energy, whether the time is a moment, whether it's a minute, whether it's an hour, whether it's a week, a day, a week, a month, or a year, or 10 years, right? It's all an influx of divine energy that enters into the world from above, that light. And the only thing and you know what it leaves with? What you give to that moment. The mitzvah that you've done in that moment. So it could be that you're going on a very important train ride, as in the case of the previous Rebbe, right? or in our case, you're going somewhere, and then you got a phone call right before that, someone who urgently needs your advice that might be life-saving. We wouldn't for a moment, not focus on that person, especially a loved one that needs some life-saving advice. We'd be totally there, right? Understandably. I've got a flight that I've got to take. That's irrelevant in this moment because what I've got to give this person is life-saving. So that's on the human level that we can appreciate that. But the truth is, God's giving that divine life every moment, right? And what God takes back is the mitzvah that I've done in that moment, not how that moment will serve the next moment, the next day, the next whatever, engagement that I have that's not in this moment. But God is giving this moment. What am I giving back in this moment? The mitzvah that I give in this moment is what I'm capable of. And that's what God takes back. And that's what time is. Tick, the light comes in. Talk, what we talk back. I made that up, by the way. I saw that nowhere. Huh? Listen, some good things came from there. So tick, the light comes in, the energy comes into this world, but it goes back with something. It doesn't go back empty-handed, only with the spirit that we put into that moment, what we are infused in that moment, how we're engaged in that moment, and our completion, completely being engaged in that moment, which means in our thoughts, in our words, our talk, and with our actions in that moment, right? As an end in itself. Because if there's a mitzvah in this moment, so the moment could be that you're traveling in the car, coming to a class to be inspired, to come closer to Hashem. Well, in that moment, you can't become closer to God when you're in the car or when you're walking here, for sure. You could be listening to a podcast. You could be, speaking words of encouragement to another person that maybe had some difficulty today, and you're giving some words of encouragement, right? There's something at that moment we can give back to God Almighty. Huh?
Almost a lot of times, not just in actual, a lot of times. Such happens to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the reality, right? This is the reality.
Still saying, okay?
You know you want to go.
So with this, now we can understand the case of our lottery. Let's go back to our lottery. What is a lottery? Right. It's only the lottery is, and when you think about it, is the embodiment of a means to an end. Right? It's an embodiment of a means to an end. The lottery is nothing. It's only to let you know the conclusion of something, right? That's all you care about.
I buy
It's-
lottery tickets 2 times a week. I'm still waiting for my conclusion.
So maybe let's follow here, and then maybe you'll learn the lottery numbers over here. So it's the embodiment of a means to an end, right? The car ride isn't an embodiment of a means to an end, right? Walking isn't, right? The Rashba took a walk, and for all intents and purposes, everything else didn't exist for him. Just the focus on the walk. That's all that existed, right? The previous Rebbe was so engaged in the Hasidic discourse, even though he had the whole Russian Jewry that he had to go and stand for and deal for them in an upcoming train ride. It didn't exist. It was just this. But a lottery, that's really a means to an end. Here comes the lottery. And therefore, since we don't pay any attention, it's only to tell us who's going to get what in the land of Israel, right? Therefore, the Hashem says, no, 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 no. This lottery is going to speak. It's not a means to an end. It's an end in itself. What does that mean? What does that mean? So we had here three things on how the division of the land of Israel. We had two boxes, right? A lottery. What was that? That was the action of choosing the lottery. There was an act, right? Then we had the Urim V'Tumim, the letters there, and that it was like a message, right? It was language of thought that came to the Kohen Gadol, the prophetic vision. I mean, he spoke it, but it was really the thought that came to him based on the Urim V'Tumim, right? So we have thought, we have action, and then we have the lottery that spoke. No, it's not a miracle. It's part and parcel of the whole point. We are going to Eretz Yisrael, right? And the whole point of going to Eretz Yisrael is to make a home for God, that we're engaged entirely in focused in creating a home for God. How do you engage in that? Thought, speech, and action. That's what we have mastery over. That's the first part of Tanya, Sefer Shabbeinanim, the book of the Beinani, right? That we have self-mastery over all of our actions. The Beinani does. All of our words and all of our cogitated thought, all of our willful thought, we have mastery over. Of course, we're not a Beinani. We are BITs, Beinani in training, for those who study Tanya. A Beinani in training, right? To train ourselves that we can be totally engaged, totally there, totally in the moment, whatever it is, as not a means to an end, but that moment is a moment that there's nothing more precious that God gives us in time, that we are totally engaged into it and we talk back to God and give him something in that moment. That's what the lottery did, and therefore it talked. Yes, it's a miracle, but that's not the point, the miracle. The point was to teach the lesson that you're going into the land of Israel to make a home for God. To make a home for God can only be done when you are engaged totally in whatever you're doing in that moment to make the home. You don't only make a home for God when you come to synagogue. You don't only make a home for God that when you eat kosher in your home. You make a home for God when you take a walk and that you are engaged in that walk, right? In a way that God's presence is there, that he's ticking that moment, and you're talking that moment, the presence of God, right? That you're expressing the presence of God in that way, whether it's helping somebody because you're sitting in the car or you just, warm Avas Yisrael, that you have a warmth between fellow Jews, doing that mitzvah, or listening to somebody, or listening to a podcast, and not on the way, you're listening in the means of coming to learn something. And therefore, when you think about it, it's like Rashi is the simple meaning he's giving, like the simple understanding, right? And you don't have to say that, that's a Talmudic, Midrashic explanation, you could say, but that it's a simple meaning, because that's the whole point of going into the land of Israel, right? Is that we bring the presence of God. We bring the reality of God. And what's the presence of God? That this moment, he's animating it. And this moment, therefore, I'm totally focused. I'm totally given over to this moment. How? In complete thought. My thoughts are there. My words are there. My actions are there. and that they're not anywhere else. So, and of course, to create that home for God doesn't have to be only in the homeland of God, right? Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. But as the Chassid came to the Tzemach Tzedek, and he wanted to go to the land of Israel. So in 1857, one of the great Chassidim asked my honorable saintly grandfather and teacher, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Lubavitch, Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitch Rebbe. He was the grandson of the Alter Rebbe, whose soul resides on high. May his memory protect us. About traveling to the land of Israel, he opened his heart to the Rebbe and revealed that he yearned desperately to study and pray with diligence in the Holy Land. The Rebbe replied, "We must turn this land into Israel. Machda Eretz Yisrael, make here the land of Israel." Because what is Israel? It means God's presence, God's holiness, right? What does holiness means? Holiness means what? Holiness means in time and in space, it means this moment, this space, right? It doesn't mean another space, not a means to somewhere, right? It's in this space and in this moment that I make holy. That's what Israel means, right? Israel is just more openly revealed for that and easier. So that's why people want to go there, because it's easier, right? Even though it's challenging times in Israel. But if someone's looking for holiness, it's easier to find it there. But here he says, oh, no. To go there to find it, that's missing the point. This is not a means to there. This is an end in itself. And by divine providence, this is where you live, right? This is where you need to make holy. That you have to recognize God is animating this moment, in this time, in this space, is all about you totally being engaged and recognizing that this is a holy moment, and just be perfectly there and give to it whatever that moment needs, whatever mitzvah it is that moment needs. Sometimes it might mean that mitzvah I got to do now is pack, right? I've got to pack, because if I'm not going to pack, I'm late. I'm going to miss the flight. Oops. I'm going to miss the flight. It's okay. I'm not, Hamid. Make Israel here. I obviously don't need it. May want it, but I don't need it, obviously. So we take this moment and fully infuse it. And the only thing we can infuse it with is our thoughts, that we're present with our words, with our actions, that and understanding that it's not a means to an end, but an end in itself. Again, it doesn't mean exclusion of this serves the packing for going on the plane. That we obviously get. We're not going to lose that. But that we are focused in it, that it's an activity for itself, as an end in itself, a reality, not an activity, it's a reality in itself. This is what I'm doing now in serving God. I'm packing. Period. Now, maybe you could pack, and you want to hear some things, you want to hear some music in the background, or you want to, whatever, fine, but you're focused on what the call of the moment is, what the duty of the hour is. And that way we make Israel right here and right now. And that's how we bring the final redemption. So yeah, it's not easy. It isn't easy, right? It isn't easy. It's a real arduous task to be able to focus that way. There's a story of the Rebbe Rashab, of a chassid who was having difficulty making livelihood in his city. So he went to another city, Kherson, in the Vilnius region. So he came to the Rebbe, to the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the previous Rebbe's father. So he asked him, "Are you teaching Hasidus there?" He says, they're not like, they're not such high-minded people who have the, capability. So he got upset with him. He says, "What do you think? What do you think went to Kherson for? To go make a livelihood? That's what you think you went for? Well, you don't think God could give you a livelihood back where you lived? Of course he could. So why did you go to Kherson? Just to make a livelihood? No, you went there so you can inspire people. Okay, a livelihood. So God gave you a livelihood. But that's not what you live for the livelihood, even though it's a livelihood for your family, by the way. You don't live for that. You got to do that, but that's not what we live for. We live for to making an impact. So he was capable of making an impact by teaching. But yes, making a livelihood. He went to a place, but God didn't need to send you there for a livelihood. He sent you there so you can make an impact in people's lives. Go teach. Go teach, he told him. Same thing in our lives, right? Sometimes we have to move from here to there for whatever, because things didn't work out here, so I got to go there. So we think it is just for the material benefit that we went for, right? Whether it's a job we changed, whether it's a place of living that we changed, whatever it is, right? Or it's even that we went somewhere just to, buy something for myself. That's what God sent you for. So you could buy for yourself something. Buy food even for Shabbos. Oh, it's a mitzvah. You could order online and get it. God sent you there because you know what? There's someone there that you saw that maybe you look the other way, maybe you shouldn't look the other way, and maybe engage them in conversation. In other words, you're sent to a place. The righteous, they know exactly where to go. Today, very not righteous, because the righteous know where to go. Today, my son Mendel and Shayna, Ellie and Beryl and Nucha, they went with our grandchildren. They went to a park in LaSalle. Oh my gosh, this park is must be 5 kilometers long. It's beautiful along the water. Anyways, I got from Mendel where to go, but then they moved from there, and I don't know how to use this, and I'm 4 kilometers away from them. Whatever. Anyways, the point is, the righteous know where to go exactly for the purpose they were sent. I didn't know where to go. I needed to get the Google Maps, so I can know where to go. The righteous know exactly where to go, because exactly where to go is who they had to meet, who they had to engage with in that moment, not as a means to an end, right? And they knew exactly. We go places, we think, oh, I went to go and to buy a new dress. I went to buy some nice food for myself. That's not what you went for. That's what you live for? Oh, we need to do those things. Not denying that we need to do those things, but that's all we're here for. We're here for so we can make a difference, make an impact. So you went and bought some food. Did you see someone there? Could you have shared something with them that maybe would impact their lives? Even just to tell them, I went to a nice class. Maybe come join me next Sunday. The whole reason you went there was so you could change someone's life. It could be so simple like that, right? But that's because it's not a means to an end. It's an end in itself. And you recognize that that's what God sent you. We get sent on a mission because God sent us. We don't know. The righteous, they are God's messengers. They know exactly why they're going. We don't. So we happened upon the person. This is what, when we understand that this is what we're sent for as a mission, that we can make an impact and make a difference, and then we're fully engaged in such a way, then we know we're a step closer to the final redemption, bringing Mashiach. Any questions, any comments?
Do we know anybody who live like that?
We all can. It's
No,
not black and white.
Do we know anybody who does live like that? Of course we
I
all
know
do.
I'm saying it, but it's not black and
They
white.
walk in
Yeah,
the streets.
absolutely. It's not, by the way, it's not black and white. It's not black and white.
Human beings are.
Right. It's not black and white. In other words, the very fact that you know that you went somewhere and you recognize this, and the fact that you meet somebody and you realize that there's a purpose as an end in itself, right? In that meeting, that's ultimately what we're saying, right? That there's an end in itself. There's a reason why I'm here. You know, the Rebbe Rashab, during the First World War, he came from Leningrad or Rostov, maybe it was Rostov, and he came to Moscow. It was extremely dangerous, literally fighting on the streets, Bolsheviks, no, actually, no, maybe it was World War. No, it wasn't World War I. What am I talking about? It was the revolution. It was the revolution, 1917, Russian Revolution, right? And he came and he got stuck, so to speak, the proverbial stuck. He is pacing up and down, and he's saying, like he's muttering, his son, it was his son there. I don't think his son, no, I don't remember now in the story if his son was there or was the other Chassidim. He was in a Chassid's home, and he's muttering, I came from Leningrad to Moscow. I came from Leningrad to Moscow. And he's like pacing. And then he call these, I think it was 5 or 6 people. There were wealthy people in Moscow. Wealthy people in Moscow. He called them. Go send them and have them come to the house here. It was very dangerous. But they all came. Rebbe Rashab called them. They came. He says, I'm here in Moscow. There's a reason for me to be here. And I don't think he used the word stuck, but that I'm here. And with the upheaval that's going on amongst the Jewish people right now, right, with the revolution, I need the 6 of you to put up money to print Sidurim, the Sachari, Ashkenaz, for all the different communities, not just Chabad, but for all, because they're going to be displaced. They're going to need Sidurim, and we need to print Sidurim, immediately and distribute them. And I'm making you in charge. And everyone, they put in lots of money to get this happen, and so on. What was going on? He realized, I'm here for a purpose. And he guessed till it came to him, and Hashem gave him the purpose that he was there, of why am I not able to move from here? I have to leave here. This is not where I'm supposed to be, but obviously I'm supposed to be here. God made, right? I'm here. There's something that had to come out of it. There's going to be positive. And however Hashem came to him and gave him the message, or however he got it, I don't know. I'm not a Rebbe. and this is what it was. So we have that we're somewhere, and what greater lesson can you have that what happened with on Friday, what was it, Friday or Thursday, with the Microsoft breakdown, right with the breakdown and so on. I went to the bank. I went to the bank on Friday. I had to take out money for someone. Couldn't do it. Huh?
Microsoft released a special patch and it broke down quite several inches.
Yeah. In any case, folks. So any questions, any comments? We're good? No, you're not good. You're great. You're great.
Lady tea this morning, they got the garden party.
Ada, the event was great. I heard. Simcha told me it was amazing.
It's always the fabulous. The guest speaker, I can't remember her name, the guy from West now.
Right? The Rosh Hashanah.
It was always fabulous, fabulous. The host is gracious, beautiful, fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
And the ladies from here,
Oh.
Sarah, she walked down, what Rachel was Rachel, Katya.
It was pretending to be the.
Beautiful. All right.
Value, like.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, folks.